All right, what's up? What's up? Okay, so if you guys got comments, leave them in here. And if you want to display your name, like so, for instance, this kind person has a Facebook user. If you want to display your name, follow the instructions if you could. In whatever the sign up thingy is, it'll show you. It'll show you all the fun stuff. So we're going to start doing these kind of live videos on the regular. And we want to start driving traffic to the Facebook page and building our community. If you're watching this right now, this is our first video. And we're going to put this on the Kickstarter page or figure out some way to do it. So if you're watching it right now, it's because you're part of the group. But if you're watching it later after the fact, it's because you're not part of the group, in which case I encourage you to join the group. We are 1,100 strong. And I don't know why I just closed that window. I can't really share a screen if there's nothing to share. So let's do that. I'm going to fly on over to the High Noon official group. Let's do a quick little screen share. Yep. Okay. So this is our group. So for those of you watching, you're like, I already know what's going on. I already know the whole deal, but it's okay. Deal with it. So we got 1,100 people in here. Just look up High Noon official group. You'll see this banner, and then click join and be a part of the discussion with us. Follow along on our journey as we develop the game of High Noon. Got some fun, exciting things. So let's hop right to it. Kickstarter. So we pledged. We reached full funding in less than 48 hours. It was really nice. We're now hovering over 92,000, just a little over that. And we got about 8,000, a little shy of $8,000 to go in order to unlock the Pine Box Priest, Father Franklin, the Pine Box Priest. This is a special posse. It wasn't going to throw it in so close as a close stretch goal. But we wanted to give you guys something. We wanted to give you something of real value for backing this and making it possible. So that's why we made the Pine Box Priest an unlockable posse at 100,000. But we've done a couple of changes to the Kickstarter page, and you're going to see that. So we heard a lot of your concerns about the price. $89 for the pledge for the core game just doesn't. It's just so hard to pull the trigger on a core game, bare bones game. Let me tell you something. High Noon, the core game, and I'm biased, I know, because I made the game, but the bare bones game is hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of replayable fun. It's plenty worth the price tag, and plus, you get all the posses that are unlocked. Like that, $89 includes all the unlocked stretch goals as we get further along in the journey. But we see that the pledge tiers, they start climbing. $170, $280. That's not something to scoff at. We understand that. So we wanted to do this early on. We just weren't ready for it. And by the way, guys, if you can't hear me or if the audio is bad or whatever, if you could just leave a comment in here saying the audio is fine, because this is my first time doing this kind of stream thing. And I want to make sure that, that the tech is good for moving forward. But what we've done is we said, we got the brainstorm. We were like, you know what? These pledge tiers, they pack a lot of value in them, a lot of posses, a lot of expansions. But what if you don't want all of those expansions? What if not everything speaks to you? So we wanted to make this just in the soul of High Noon, which is this is supposed to be a purely customizable, totally modular game for you to make your very own. I don't want you to feel like you have to get all these expansions. I had this conversation in the group with somebody who was like, I can't afford everything. And I'm like, I don't want you to get everything, which means I suck as a salesperson for my own game. But not every expansion is going to speak to you. Not every expansion is going to be what you like. I mean, there's another gentleman in the group who was like, I don't like fantasy stuff. I don't like sci-fi stuff. I don't even like the edge of actual history, but like 2 years past this timeline that I actually like. I don't want anything else. And it's like, that's great. There's a part of High Noon that it speaks right to you. And so that's what we wanted to do with High Noon, is we wanted this to be totally customizable. All right, good. You can hear me. Fantastic. Thank you, guys. So what we did was we took all these expansions and all these built-in things that are in specifically Pledge Tier 3, and we said, because something you need to understand is Pascagoula Ridge. Okay, the core game. Let's scroll down here. This is the core game, and this is 4 posses in a little town. This is the bare bones, and there's nothing to customize here. These posses are specifically structured to balance each other out. They all work together, and they all you can take any one out. You can do a 3-player match, a 4-player match, a 2-player match. You can do whatever you want, and these posses are balanced perfectly together. So there's no customizing this. Then what Pascagoula, the Saddle Up Pledge, includes the core game and an expansion called Pascagoula, which is essentially a mirror of the core game. It's 4 more posses that have a very similar makeup to the original core game. So you've got there's a posse of 2, a posse of 3, a posse of 4, and a posse of 5. Of 5 characters. And so Pascagoula doubles that up. You'll have another posse of 2, another posse of 3, another of 4, another of 5. They have slight differences, but very similar play styles. So it's it's really meant to kind of introduce you to the idea that there's slight variations in different flavors of expansions to come. Things really get colorful with the all-in pledge, and what this really is, this is not, and so just so you know, this is a box set, right? So Pascagoula is a box set, and the core game Sweetwater is a box set. The all-in pledge is not a box set. The all-in pledge is those 2 sets, and then 4 additional posses that are meant to be sold alone, like each individually. Alone. Each one has a very unique play style. And then on top of that, we included not just the posses, but we got this tournament map. And, you may be like, oh, well, big deal. I don't really care about the tournament map. Well, that's why we also included this up here, which is the economy. And this is where you can buy items and modify your loadout during the game. And this is a huge thing. Like, I'm sure that trying to explain it to you, you've never played the game. It's hard to wrap your head around what really does this change. It changes everything. It's a massive expansion. And even the economy was meant to be sold alone as a standalone little expansion that you can buy, you can have, or you could opt not to have it. It's again, not necessary. None of these things are necessary. They only enhance the experience, and each expansion drives the experience in a certain direction, and that's a direction that you can choose to go or not. So the expansions that come with it are the let's see. I thought there was pictures. Okay, here's the miniatures. So the expansions that come with the all-in pledge is the Abernathy Gang. That's a standalone expansion. The Bandera Blondes is a standalone expansion. Miroslav Zork is a standalone expansion, and Grizzly Greenwood is a standalone expansion. And these expansions have entirely unique playstyles. So Abernathy is really for somebody who just likes to walk out like a big walking tank, take a bunch of hits, but attack at range, and just disrupt the entire play area. He's somebody who just wants to be a big jerk. Like, if you just want to be hated by everybody else at the table and cause loads of problems to everybody, that's Nelson Abernathy. He can burn down buildings. He drops smoke bombs and becomes immune. He's like a toddler running around breaking toys. The Bandera Blondes is more of a specialized posse. This is for somebody who really likes to break down just tactics to like individual specialties, much like if I come up here, much like the Elsu's Warband, they're a bunch of specialists too, but there's only 3 of them, and they're largely like melee. You got a guy who's a berserker, you've got a guy who's a sniper, and you have a guy who's a commando. But with the Bandera Blondes, what you have is you've got these 2 lightly armored tanks, these shotgun-toting chicks who don't have a lot of health, but they've got these shotguns that just blow through cover. Like if you're hiding behind something, it doesn't matter. They're going to shoot through it. If you're hiding behind a door, they're going to shoot through it. These girls pack a punch, but at the same time, they can't really take a lot of hits. And then you've got a sniper who can back them up, and then you have a commando. And each of these have different ballistics: shotgun shells, rifle rounds, your regular bullets. These things have an effect when you're pulling out loot, when you're getting different equipment and power-ups and things. That's really what they are, the posse where if you want to play with all sorts of ballistics, that's the Bandera Blondes. The Bandera Blondes is the ballistics posse. Miroslav is a map controller. What he does is he sets the towers up all around the map, and then the more towers he sets up, the scarier he gets, because he can create force fields with these towers. He can combine them he can channel power from all these different towers to maximize an attack of one tower. So he can like draw power from these towers on another tower. He can enhance. He can draw power from his generator to enhance his attacks, enhances his defenses. He's got all these like superpowers with his tech. And so this is a guy. This is for somebody who likes to control territory, likes to control landmass. And then you've got Grizzly Greenwood, and what he is he's an isolator. He likes to immobilize certain characters so that he can either pounce those characters, just like send everybody on them, or he can basically immobilize everybody so he can focus on one person. So he has these wolves that can jump on people. They can pounce people. And when they've been pounced, they can't do anything. Like they got a dog on them. So they're like, all they can do is either attack that dog or or scream. And then meanwhile, once a dog is on top of them, basically everybody else can just attack that person, and that person can't defend. And the dogs themselves will work together. They're a wolf pack. So if one pounces, then another one has added damage on them. Like they're like grabbing at the throat of whoever it is. And then of course, Grizzly Greenwood, he's a game hunter. He's got a long rifle. So he doesn't even have to, he can hang back in the back. He can send these wolves out and they knock people down. And then he's like, okay, you got that person, boop, and he picks them off. Now, if you take out the dogs, he also has bear traps. And the bear traps are particularly annoying because they are activated whenever somebody moves. So they're cards that he has in his hand, and when somebody, starts to move, he can play the card, and it's basically a free attack on that person. And if that person takes any damage whatsoever from that attack, they're immediately immobilized by this bear trap, and they can't do anything until they take the bear trap off. They break free from the bear trap. So he's an immobilizer. He's a guy who makes you afraid to move, and and then also can keep you from moving if you try to get away. So each of these has a very unique play style, and that's kind of the whole point of these expansions. And I'll get into a couple of the ones in the stretch goals in a minute. But we got to thinking, we were like, you're right. Like we didn't want you to have to buy an all-in just to get one of these expansions. That goes against everything that High Noon is about. High Noon is about get the core game, and then if you want one specific kind of expansion, one specific kind of flavor, you can go to the store and pick that one thing and enjoy the game that way. And so that's why what we've done is after the stretch goals, let's see, what we've done is we've taken all that extra stuff in those tiers and we've made them into add-ons. So these are optional add-ons that you can add to your pledge however you like. So if you just want the Abernathy Gang posse, you get the core game and you're like, I just want the Abernathy Gang, fine, there it is. If you want Grizzly Greenwood, you can do that. So you can choose the different posses, and you can even get the stand if you like. We've got basically everything that you can get on the campaign. You can get another one or an individual one separately, and we're going to keep adding to this. not only are we going to keep adding to this with the stretch goals as they unlock, every stretch goal will also be added to the add-on. So you'll get a free one. You'll get a free one of the stretch goals you'll get for free. Every time we unlock the stretch goal, you get one of those for free. But you can buy more of them. If you want to buy one for a friend or whatever, you just kind of want to help us reach other stretch goals or whatnot, you can get more of them right here and then tack that on. And I'll just let you know, this is MSRP. Like this is pretty much what these will cost in the store. We're not upcharging anything at the Kickstarter level here. As we come up with other stuff that may not be stretch goals, we're going to be releasing that as well. So for instance, I was just talking to the team and I was like, we have the expansion loot. Like, so let's put that in there, because the expansion loot was going to be, the expansion loot was going to be a stretch goal and ended up not being one. And we ended up throwing it into tier 2. I think tier 2 has the expansion loot, which is really colorful. But the thing about the expansion loot is it's not as much loot as the core game loot. It's not as much loot as the general loot. So if you want more of it, so you have more chances of drawing those awesome cards, you'll be able to buy those as well. We're also going to be releasing, this is something we've taken your feedback. We're going to be releasing a bounty deck. And a bounty deck is basically like a missions deck. You're going to be able to draw from this deck various missions that you can do throughout the game and to earn extra gold. Because we've heard that you guys want scenario based stuff, and we're not there yet. Like the mechanics overall is not there for scenario based games just yet. But the missions deck is going to be a great way to jump right into that kind of concept in the base style of the game as is. And you're just going to be, rocking gold. Somebody says, awesome. Didn't realize stretch goals were free if met. Yes, absolutely. If you're a pledge backer of at least the core game, if you at least go in on the core game, as we unlock stretch goals, you're going to get a copy for free. So this is a fun, I'm really excited about this, because this is something that we wanted to get you guys a lot sooner. We're happy that we were able to roll it out now, but keep an eye out as we roll out more add-ons. Keep an eye out in the group as we make announcements. There's another thing. We also updated our stretch goals. We've added 2 new expansion posses. I posted one of them I've posted these guys in the Facebook group in the past, but I just wanted it's official. Gosh, there's a lot of scrolling. So the Eastman Family. So I just want to kind of talk about these guys. So Father Franklin is a singular posse. We talked about it in the 24-hour launch party. It's one guy, and he can deploy to have a machine gun out of a coffin. He's a pillbox, and he's devastating on his own. His coffin counts as cover, so he can hide behind it. He can unload his entire deck on you in one turn. He's the one right now. He's the only character in the game that fires in a cone. So everybody else has to fire in a straight line. This dude covers a whole swath of territory. He is madness, and really fun. I know Jason's been enjoying him. Then we've got the Eastman Family. The Eastman Family I've been wanting to do for a long time. I just didn't know how I was going to roll it out. And so basically what the Eastman Family is they're demolitions people. They're dynamite experts. They basically run around the map, setting charges and detonating them. So expect, if the Eastman Family is on the map, expect explosions everywhere. Just they are Michael Bay. The Eastman Family is Michael Bay in High Noon. So I'm really excited to play test that one. Governor McGrady is our next stretch goal, and Governor McGrady's play style is for people who like to play politician. They like to work the table, not necessarily run out there and pew 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 people, but manipulate the other players into doing things that they want them to do. They're there to manipulate players into attacking other players. They're the politician. They're the governor. And they also introduce the concept of different victory conditions based on posse. So up to the Governor McGrady, every single posse wins the same way. The most gold at the end of the game or being the last posse standing. Governor McGrady, the only way he can win is if he gets reelected because he's running for reelection. So everything he does is designed to get votes, is designed to earn votes. And if he does not get the votes by the end of the game, he doesn't win the game. Even if he's the last posse standing, he doesn't win the game. So he's a very difficult posse to play. I've never won with him, but I've always had a great time playing with him, and he always makes games super interesting. Generally, when you play a game of High Noon, you can predict the direction it's going to go. You can predict who's going to attack who's going to team up, what's going to be the first kind of thing that happen. You can kind of predict a direction that it's going to go based on how everybody's playing. But when you put Governor Grady into a game, all bets are off because he starts throwing down political favors. He starts bribing people with gold and with loot. And it's amazing what allies will do when they've reached when they've gotten when they got some incentive to break rank. Finally, and this is only finally for now because we're still rolling out stuff. Our final stretch goal posse is Sitting Bear's Warband. So the story behind Sitting Bear is Elsu's father. And Elsu and Ki and Kayataka go off to avenge their people and basically declare war on these oppressors. And when they don't come, and everybody at home thinks that they went on a hunt. They went on a hunting trip. But after weeks and weeks of not coming back, that's when people start getting worried and concerned. And then rumors start flying in that there's these 3 Native Americans that are going around Caucasus. And after they start describing one of them as Kiia, that's when Sitting Bear realizes who it is. And so Sitting Bear himself is an old one of this once mighty war chief, an incredible warrior, incredible fighter. But he's put up his weapons. He's put his weapons away because when the white man came with their boomsticks and their armor and their iron horses and whatever, it's like he realized this is not a battle that we are going to win. And so he changed his whole strategy to seek peace with the Americans. But what ends up happening is, of course, they get carved out into a reservation. Their once mighty people dwindles. And even his spirit kind of goes away. So this once big brute war chief, pride of the lands, has now been kind of relegated down to this, weak politician. But now that his son is in major danger, he breaks his oath and he, opens this old rotting chest and he pulls out his weapons that he used to use that he paved the frontier for his people with, and he takes them up again one last time to bring his son home. And along with him come the fathers of Kiia and Kayataka, and these guys are just complete badasses. These guys are people to be feared. They're the kind those old men that you're like, I don't want to mess with that guy. Like his bones are probably as brittle as salt, but he probably knows how to crack my neck with like a twig with his pinky. So I don't want to touch him. That is these guys. And so the breakdown is Sitting Bear is a melee warrior. Very tough, and very cunning. Kayataka, his father, is a medicine man. He's a shaman. So he's kind of a fighter. If you play Dungeons and Dragons, think of him as a cleric. So he's well armored. He's got a shield to protect himself. But his big ability is that he can use his cards to heal his other members of his posse, to keep them going. So Kayataka is the healer of the team. He's the first healer in High Noon. There's no other healers in High Noon until him. So he brings in that kind of mechanic. And then Kiia's father is a scout, and where Kiia is a brutal melee fighter. Like, he's got these hatchets and he goes into a bloodlust, and you do not want to be at the end of his hatchets because he's a berserker. And so he's deadly that way. His father is more methodical in how deadly he is. He's still a melee character. He fights with javelins, so he's got a range of 1. So he's technically melee, but he's technically ranged, but he's melee. He can throw the javelins or he can fight with them, but he's got a lot of martial arts moves. So he can disarm you, he can grapple you, he can do all this cool stuff. And he's going to basically be introducing the martial art combat system into High Noon. And this is going to be the harbinger of our martial arts posses, including the ninja and the samurai, and these kind of assassin types. That they owe it all to Kiya's father, who's going to bring it in with this posse. So these guys are this is a very, very cool posse. Can't wait to introduce it to you guys with the models. Yeah, we reached the stretch goal, and you guys get it. So this is the stretch. This is part of this video stream where we talk about the updates, and these are them. We got some awesome stretch goals that we've released, and we got more on the way, and we've got these awesome optional buys for you to really customize your pledge style. So and look, if this means that you're like, oh, thank God, I don't have to buy the all-in, I can go back to the core game and I can just buy the Bandera Blondes. That's fine. That's great. That's what I want to be able to provide to you. I want you guys to be able to do that. I know it means that we make less from you, and that hurts us in the short term. But we really believe that in the long run, this is going to open up avenues for all sorts of backers who otherwise looked at the tiers and was like, I can't afford the top tier, and I don't want to pay $90 for nothing. Which is still a misconception. It's not nothing. The game is awesome. The core game is amazing. There's plenty of play value and replay value in the core game, but this way, it just eliminates a lot of the protests. So that's that. So we're gonna be rolling out some new updates for the Kickstarter side. Please get the word out about this updates. Share with your friends, share with your family if you really believe in this project. Get the word out about the project, share it with people, and get them to back it. I'm working right now on some really cool videos, some more Posse Spotlight videos. If you've seen the Rough Riders video, I'm going to do a Posse Spotlight video for Elsu's Warband, the Sheriff, and the Leroy Gang. And I'm also going to be working on a video for, let me do this. Let me stop that. I'm also going to be working on some videos for gameplay mechanics when it comes to cards, combat, and loot. But in the meantime, I thought we could talk about it here on this live stream going in. So I've kind of set up some cameras, and I've sort of set up some stuff I want to show you in just a second. But first, I want to just kind of go over the comments. And by the way, guys, if you have any comments that you want to add to the conversation, if you got any questions, you need any clarification on anything, this is the place to do it. Bring your questions here and let's have a dialogue. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Don't think you have to wait for me to finish my thought before you can put the comment up there. Get the comment in the stream so that when I finish a thought, I can go to those comments and we can have a discussion. Okay, that's how we flow. All right, so we've got yeah, we want to. Okay, yep, I think that's Jason wanted to add as much value as possible for our backers. Absolutely true. Somebody said Governor McGrady is perfect for me. Haha, put it as an add-on so I can buy it at the end. Okay, so here's the thing about the add-ons, guys. As stretch goals are unlocked, those stretch goals become add-ons. So McGrady will become an add-on as soon as we unlock him. So we've got to reach a million. We got to reach 1 million to unlock McGrady. Now, I know that seems like a long way off, but believe you me, there are games out there that pull 3 to 6 to 12 million. Frosthaven did 13 million. Now, I know they came out after Gloomhaven, but Gloomhaven did 6 million on its re-release. And I know the original launch didn't do quite that much. But it's possible. It's possible. We can reach these goals, guys. We just got to get the word out there. And, and spread the good news about High Noon. Spread the excitement about High Noon. So yeah, if we unlock McGrady, he will definitely be an add-on. That is absolutely a fact. Okay, so we had an article. We had our first review come out. Shout out to Steph Hodge over at Board Game Geek for the review. I know it wasn't glowing, but I'll be honest, I liked it. I liked the review. I liked how she described her experience. I like how she wrote out step by step the scenario of what happened with her posse. Again, with the Leroy gang, her playing Leroy gang going up against the sheriff, and that rarely ever ends well. I mean, it's really tough for the Leroy gang to beat the sheriff. It is possible, but you got to know what you're doing. Like it's definitely a challenge. The sheriff, the lawmen are designed to be an easier posse to play. That's why there's only 2 of them. They have a lot of health. They got a lot of really powerful attack cards, and then they got some really decent defense cards. We're going to get into those in some examples here in a second. But I liked the review, and she took some really cool pictures. They were better than pictures that I've taken. So she took really cool pictures of the game. I felt she did a really good write up of the game. I'm sorry she didn't like it, but and she gave us some notes, and I like the notes. I even said I said thank you for these notes. They've actually made me aware of things I didn't realize weren't in the instructions. So we're definitely gonna take her advice. She doesn't seem like if she's concerned. If you're out there, Steph, and you really don't think that we're gonna listen to you, I'm sorry there was a misunderstanding there. We're totally hearing you. Great, fantastic feedback, all in all. So. Anyway, the article brought about some questions about combat and how the cards work, and even she had questions about how equipment works and how loot works and how weapons work. So I thought, why don't we do some scenarios, just a quick little scenario of how cards work and how damage works and all that stuff, and then we'll just go from there. So what I've done here is I've set up just a quick little setup here. What we got is we've got Quentin Leroy facing off against the sheriff. So this is Quentin over here, and that's the Sheriff Garrett, and they're in a little shootout. They're in a little match, little game of death match. So in the game of High Noon, everything is decided by cards. There's no dice in High Noon. And High Noon, I'm looking for okay. And the way that the cards work is you've got names, you've got a picture, you got a character. Let me see here. So you got the person's name, you got the person's picture, their name, and then you got a number up here and a number down there. And then the number up here represents the attack strength, and the number down there represents the defense. So this is a basic card. It can be used as either an attack or a defense. And it comes down to simple math. If you're using this as an attack, okay, you attack with a 4. And if somebody were to, let's say, defend, all right, well, let's go. Anyway, I'll do it this way. So you take the attack value of the attacker, you subtract the defense value from the defender, and you put the difference in damage on the character sheet. Somebody pointed out, that made a good astute observation, and we'd mentioned it in the live stream, that this is, that Epic Duels, there's a game called Epic Duels, had a very similar system. And yes, the system was inspired by, drew a lot of inspiration from Epic Duels. So you've got basic cards and special cards. So basic cards have the character, like I said, the attack strength and the defense strength. So what we're doing here is we're just going to show that in this scenario, we've got Sheriff Garrett, and Sheriff Garrett's going to go, and he's going to do an attack of 4. Okay, so Sheriff Garrett is, let me see if I can do this. I just want to show you here. Yeah, okay, cool. So Sheriff Garrett has an attack of 4. And Quentin Leroy, I'm going to pull over his cards over here. So this is Quentin Leroy's his current hand, okay? And this is character sheet. And let's just go ahead and put I don't know. Let's put some health, like, I don't know, right here. Okay, so let's say he's taking some hits or whatever. Health is marked by a red poker chip. So this is his health ticker. It generally starts off. So if he has if he's taking no damage, there's no health, but there's nothing there. But as he starts taking damage, you're going to put the poker chip on, and you can just move it down the line. So let's say that he's gotten hit a couple times. Now, if he reaches the skull and crossbones, that means he's dead. Okay, so we have in his hand. So Sheriff Garrett has attacked for 4. So we're gonna look at Quentin's cards and see what he's got to defend. So he's got a couple of cards here. He can't use this one because this isn't his card. Okay, but he can use this one. All right, so he's going to defend for 2. So 4 minus 2 is 2. So he's going to take 2 points of damage. All right, and that's that. That's the combat. Now that's how combat works with basic cards. So Sheriff Garrett's going to end his turn. Let's just say I'm just running a scenario here, and so now it's up to Leroy Quentin here. He's got his cards, and what he's going to do is he's going to go ahead and now he's going to attack with 4. Right? He's going to take that attack card, and he's going to attack with 4. And now the sheriff is going to play a defense card, but this is not a basic card. This is the other type of card, which is a special card. There's 2 types of cards, basic and special. Special cards, you can tell they're special because they have a picture on them. Picture with what it says it is, who it is, and it says what it does right there. Now, it's, for whatever reason, there you go. So you see, it defends at 3, but it also says after defending, attack for 4. So Sheriff Garrett is going to defend for 3. He's going to take, I don't know. I'm out of focus. I don't know how to work this camera, so I apologize. Let me see. Can you do this? Can you focus, camera, please? So Sheriff Garrett is going to defend for 3. That means he's going to take 1 damage, and from that, but he's also going to attack for 4. So what this means is now Quentin has to defend. This is annoying. I don't know why this. Why is this not focusing? Why is this decided to just not focus? Hello, camera. There you go. So Sheriff Garrett's going to take 1 point, but he's going to counterattack because that's what the special card says for 4. So now Quentin has to see if he can defend. He doesn't have any defense cards. He's got nothing. He's got, this is not his, this is James' card. He can't defend with it. So he's going to take 4 damage. That was a pretty costly mistake. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now here's the thing though. Quentin's not really stressing it because he's going to draw 3 cards and at the end of his turn. That's going to add some cards into his deck. Hopefully he gets some defense cards. And then on his next turn, he's going to play. His plan is he's going to play a special card. He's like, all right, Garrett, you got a special card? I got a special card. And this card is called See You in Hell. And what it does is it already does 5 points of damage. But it says, sorry, it's so hard. It says that for every 2 points of damage that he's taken, you add 1 damage to this 5. So right now, he's taking 1, 2, 3, 4. He can add 4 to that card for an attack of 9. So that's his plan. And maybe if he takes 1 more damage, if he takes another point of damage in this next round, then that's 5 points. That's a damage of 10. So he's actually feeling like, you know what? Hurt me, Sheriff. Come on, bring it. I got this. You don't even know. All right. But he's not telling Sheriff Garrett that. This is his ace up his sleeve. So he's going to draw 3 cards because that's what you do at the end of your turn. You have to draw 3 cards. And here's the thing: the max amount of cards you can have in your hand is 12. So when it comes to the draw 3 cards phase, if you have more than 9 cards in your hand, you have to discard down to 9 so that you can draw 3 cards. Because in this game of High Noon, you're not allowed to draw a card. I don't like it. Throw it away. Draw another card. No, I don't like it. No, you have to draw 3 cards in a batch, and you can only have 12 cards in your hand. So you have to discard down to 9 cards and then draw 3 cards. And the reason why this is because we want to keep people from holding on, from clutching their pearls. They're not allowed to hold on to this amazing hand and until they're ready. Like they've at some point they got to get out in the firefight and just let the pieces fall where they may. And so this is a way to keep them from doing that. If they hold on to that perfect deck when it comes time to draw 3 cards, they're going to have to get rid of some of those cards, and they don't know what they're going to draw at that point. So that's why that rule exists. So he draws 3 cards. He draws a James card. He draws another James card. And he draws a Leroy Gang card. Dag nabbit. So what this means is he's in trouble. He is in trouble if somebody decides to come and attack him, because he ain't got nothing. So I actually had the scenario. The way the scenario is scripted in the video is that he did have a card. So I messed this up. But let's say that he had that card. Let's say that he had this defense card. And he's like, whatever, I can at least defend for 2 or something like that. So up comes Garrett, and this is what's going to happen. So there's 3. So the first thing that happens is out of nowhere comes Deputy Gates. So this is the deputy. He's moving in for a kill. So the first thing that happens is Sheriff Garrett is going to play another special card, and that is, I'll need them papers. And this is a free action. That means he can do anything. He can do something else if he wanted to. But what it allows him to do is search an opponent's hand and discard 2 cards. So he's going to search Leroy's hand, and he's going to be like, oh, you have this defense card? Yeah, no, now you don't. Oh, what was this? Was this what you were going to do? This is what you were going to do, Quentin? Oh, well, you're not doing that now because you didn't have a permit for that move. So I'm just going to file that in the discard pile. And then what's going to happen, this is very bad for Quentin, is Deputy Gates is going to play this card, which is Dead or Alive. It's an attack of 4 unless you don't defend it. If it's undefended, it's an attack of 8. So what happens here is we already know Quentin cannot defend. He doesn't have any defense cards. So he's going to take 8 damage, which is going to put him in the death pool. And there he goes into bye-bye land. And so that's pretty much how basic cards and special cards work in the game of High Noon. Let me know if you have any questions about that. Otherwise, we're going to move on to loot. And I'm going to just set up a different scenario here. So in this scenario, just so we understand how this works, loot exists in the game. So here's a situation. We just talked about how, like, well, Quentin doesn't have any cards, that he could have defended with. That sucks. He doesn't have any cards. He had some cards he could have attacked with. But what if, like, you can see where, like, this could be a really bad situation. If you don't have a good spread, right? Like if this is what you had, if you had Quentin on the board, but all you had was James cards and Leroy Gang cards, so you don't have any Quentin cards, and it's Quentin's turn, he ain't gonna do anything. There's nothing he can do. And so you just think about this as like a situation where he has to reload. He's got a pistol or something, and he's out of bullets, so he's reloading. And it sucks because, bullets are flying, like you could die, during reload time. So you don't want to find yourself in that situation. That's where loot can come in really handy. So we're going to talk about that. So Facebook user says, why is that square green? That is a great question. So we're going to get to that in just a second. I want to talk about how loot works, and then we'll get into that green square. Okay, I promise we will get into the green square, and we're going to get into the orange square too. Stuart says, I imagine it's a space you can go into, basically taking cover in the cart. That is a fantastic guess. That's actually a great idea. Actually, that makes me think that's incorrect. but there is a color that if the wagon had the color, that would be exactly what that would mean. That person could go in there and take cover. That color is yellow. It's introduced in another posse. It's introduced as a covered wagon. So it's like a wagon, but it's got a canvas on it. And it's yellow, and that indicates that you can go in the wagon and hide in there. But that's a story for another time. So in order to get loot comes out of boxes that look like this. These are called payloads. Okay, and they have these different icons on them. Payloads are crates that have various items that you can get and power up your guys. They have these items on them: rations, gear, and weapons. So rations are essentially like consumables that you use for like temporary buffs, temporary power-ups. They could be like health, increased damage or increased defense or more actions, stuff like that. They generally last like 1 turn or 2 turns. There is a coffee beans ration that gives you either movement or an extra action for 3 turns. But they're basically, you take it and then it gives you power up and then it's gone. Gear is more of a power up that lasts throughout the entire game. That's something that you use to modify your character, and it lasts the whole game. So maybe you have a butt stock for your pistol, butt stock for your revolver. So that would add some range. Or you have some iron sights for a rifle, and that adds range. Or like a telescopic scope that would add some range to it. That's what gear is for. Gear is to modify your character more permanently. And then weapons, they're weapons. And that's actually what we're going to talk about here in this situation. So the way that loot works, and actually this, I'll just say this. The green square indicates where a loot crate is at the beginning of the game. So every starting location, every tile you see that this has these have words on them. This says Rough Rider 3. This one says Rough Rider 2. This is Colonel Rogers, Rough Rider 1, and then Rough Rider 3 is over here. This is a starting tile for the Rough Riders. And so this not only states where the Rough Riders start at the beginning of the game, but it also states where loot starts. Every single starting location, starting tile, has at least 1 green square for loot to ensure that every posse has access to at least 1 loot crate. From there, what you do is you place loot crates around the board, and they have to be at least 4 squares away from anything else on the map, whether that's another loot crate or a person. So you might be like, well, what about this one? This one's right next to somebody. Yeah, I know. It doesn't matter. That's a starting location. Any other crate has to be 4 squares away from anything else. And so what's going to happen is all the players take turns going around the table placing loot crates down until either you don't have any more loot crates or you have no other possible places to place them, and then you're done. You generally place them face down so you don't know what they are. And then at the beginning of the game, you flip them over, and that's when you know they are. So in this instance, let's just say there's a weapon crate there, and Quentin, knowing that he's going up against the sheriff and he doesn't want to run into that crappy situation again, so he runs over to the loot crate, and the first thing he's going to do is he's going to flip it over to looted. So that indicates that it's empty. It's been looted and it's empty. And then what's going to happen is he's going to, let's get rid of these cards here. He's going to take, there's a loot deck. There's a deck with an associated icon. So you see it's got the rifle that the crate had. So we're going to go to the loot crate and we're going to flip over 3 cards. All right. Look at that. We got some dynamite. Okay, we got dynamite. We got a repeater pistol, and we got a double barrel pistol. These 2 cards are expansion loot that are available in tier 2. They'll also be available as an add-on later. We'll be adding it. And I think the loot deck is gonna be like $10. But so dynamite, in this case, I would always pick the dynamite because I love it. And we're going to talk about dynamite in a minute here. But let's just say he took the dynamite for that case. So what you do is you flip over 3, you choose 1, and then you discard the other 2. And you may think, well, wait a second. Well, why don't you just leave them in the crate? Because here, this is not saying that there were 3 items in the box and you got to pick one. This is really kind of saying that like this is your hand in the destiny that you are creating for yourself. There was always only 1 item in that box. It just happened that you had a little bit of play in what your luck was, and a little bit of choice in the luck of the draw. That's really all it's about. So in that box was only the dynamite. Okay, so when you do that, when you loot the crate, what you do is then you take the item and you put it either around or underneath or next to your character to indicate that character has the loot. They looted the crate. And so now the loot goes on to that character. Characters can only carry as much loot as is spelled out in that bag. See that bag right there? Right there? It's a 2. So that means that Quentin can only carry 2 loot items at any given time. Some people can carry more. Some people can carry less. So that's what he can carry. So in this instance, because we ran into this situation where Quentin didn't have any cards, right? So we're going to say in this situation that Quentin actually drew a different card. We're going to say that he drew a repeater rifle. That's what he drew, okay? And so now we're going to see what happens with Sheriff Garrett and Quentin Leroy face off against each other. So in this instance, Sheriff Garrett was going to go back to this, right? So we got the deck, right? We got Quentin's deck, and it sucks. Okay, it's not cool. He doesn't have anything to play. He's in bad shape. He goes up against Sheriff Garrett, and let's play this again. So Sheriff Garrett, we know that he has that return fire, right? So in this instance, instead of playing, instead of using an attack card, because he doesn't have an attack card, what he's going to do is he's going to use the repeater rifle instead. And what we can see on the repeater rifle is that a couple of things. One, we can see its attack power. See that 4? So there's that 4. So that means that this rifle attacks for 4. It's an attack card of 4. It's a guaranteed attack of 4. We also see that it has this icon here, and goodness gracious, it has that icon there, and that's a rifle round. See that? That's a rifle round. We'll explain what that means. And what that means is if a person takes a point of damage, if they take damage at all from this card, they're going to take an additional point of damage because it's a piercing round. It doesn't mean that this is an attack of 5. It just means that if they take any kind of damage, they're going to take an additional point of damage for taking the damage. Okay. You also see at the bottom, it's got these squares on them. See those squares? That's how many times the card can be used. So once it hits the 6th square, once it's been used 6 times, it's done. It needs to be discarded. So the first thing Quentin's going to do is he's going to attack with the repeater rifle, and he's going to put a blue chip on the card because blue chips mark usage of items. So he's going to put a blue chip on the card, and he's attacking the sheriff. The sheriff is going to, predictably do return fire, defend for 3, and attack for 4. So he's going to take 1 point of damage. The sheriff's going to take 1 point of damage because 4 minus 3 is 1, and an additional point of damage because it's a rifle round. Quentin Leroy may have to defend. We're not going to get into that, but basically, that's that. He defended, right? So usually the turn would be over, but here's the thing. The repeater rifle has a special ability of its own. The repeater rifle can fire a second shot as a free action. So Quentin figured that the sheriff had return fire in his hand. But he's also gambling that the sheriff doesn't have another return fire in his hand. So he's going to attack again. He's going to attack again as a free action for 4. Now we're going to go through the sheriff's cards, and not only does the sheriff not have another return fire card, but the sheriff doesn't have any kind of... Whoop. Oops. I totally just broke my piece, I think. Yeah, my camera just completely destroyed Quentin. The camera has avenged Quentin Leroy, which is awesome. Not really. Okay. So Quentin just became an amputee. That's all right. All right. So not only does the sheriff not have any, he doesn't have that card. He doesn't have any good defense cards. He's got this card, which is a good attack card, and this card, which is a good attack card, but not really good for defense. So the sheriff needs to decide, is he going to defend for 1 to just at least take 1 point, like at least save himself for 1, or is he just going to eat it all? In this case, if I were the sheriff, I'd just eat it all. I wouldn't want to get rid of those attack cards. So he's not going to defend. He's going to take 4 points of damage plus an additional point of damage. He's going to take 5 points of damage on that attack. That's how devastating. A rifle round is. Yeah. His arm, literally just came off. These are not these. So just so you know, I'm printing these at home. I'm printing these pieces in my my Anycubic. I have a little Anycubic resin printer. So they're already kind of. But this camera, for whatever weighs a ton, and it literally just smashed the heck out of Quint. Just fell right on it. It was like, I'm gonna crush that one. So that was enjoyable. Fortunately, a second. It's okay, because I have a replacement in here somewhere. It's all right. I got millions of them. Yeah, no, he's totally gone now. No, dude, I painted some of my minis, right? And Rad, I don't know what happened, but I came home and like one of them was just smashed into a million pieces. I was like, what? He was like, oh yeah, I dropped it. My bad. I'm like, dude, it took me like 4 hours to paint that thing. So yeah, anyway, it is what it is. I'll print another one in like an hour. So devastating on the rifle cards. All right. What I want to show you though, because this was a little bit of confusion with some of the people playing the game and reviewing the game. So this card has a rifle round, and people think, well, does that mean that I need a rifle round thing to use it? Because here's the thing. See this guy? See, Quentin has a ballistic as well of his own. He's got a pistol round. So people are thinking like, oh, well, this gun doesn't match that bullet. This bullet doesn't look like that bullet, so I can't use it. No. That's not how this works. What that's indicating is what kind of ammunition the rifle uses, which is important for a couple of reasons, and I'll get to that in just a minute. That's not saying that you can't use it. Anybody can use this rifle. Even somebody who has a knife as an icon can use that rifle. They can use anything. Anybody can use anything that they draw, as long as they have an inventory slot. They have to have the ability to hold inventory or space in their inventory. That's all that matters, unless it says otherwise on their character sheet. We have not released to date. We have not released a character that cannot use a weapon. Okay, so everybody can use every kind of weapon. So why bother having that icon on there? Well, I mean, we've already discussed how the rifle round is pretty important. But let's say that he didn't have a rifle round. Well, actually, let's go to something else. Let's actually do something else. Let's do another type of okay, well, actually here. So we'll just do it this way. This guy, this is Rough Rider, And as you can see, he has a rifle round on his character sheet. So again, he can use whatever he draws. So in one instance, he draws a masterful revolver, and it has a bullet round on it. He can still use it. Okay? He can still use it. It just means that when he's dealing damage, he's not doing that extra point of damage. What this means on his character sheet is his basic cards deal an additional point of damage if somebody takes the damage. That's what it means on his character sheet. So when he's using the Masterful Revolver, which has a built-in attack, a guaranteed attack value of 4 and 6 shots, it's not doing that extra point because it's using a regular round. Now, there's another kind of loot that you can draw, which is ammunition. If you're smart, or you have an IQ above 10, you know where this is going. So here's an ammunition card. It's explosive rounds. Explosive rounds have 6 uses, and what you can see is it says add to attack. See that? But right next to it, it has an icon. It says bullets only. So this card is only compatible with weapons that fire bullets or people who use bullet-powered weapons. So as a base attack, this only adds attack. This is not an attack card like your weapon, which is an attack card. This is ammunition. So it says add to attack. So this requires some sort of attack card. But what it does is it adds 3 to that attack card. If Quentin, so what that means is if Quentin, let's say that situation happened where Quentin's down here, right? So, and he's got that, See You in Hell card, which is apparently nowhere to be found now because I'm trying to use it. So clearly it can't be made available. Did I take it? All right. So let's say, there it is. So Quentin goes to play See You in Hell, right? Which is a +5 plus the 4 because he's got enough damage to add 4, right? Plus he's going to add the explosive rounds +3. So that is an attack of 12 right out the gate. Block that, Sheriff Garrett. That's what happens with the explosive rounds. They are a modifier for your attacks. You can use explosive rounds to modify your attacks up to 6 times, and then you discard it. Now, not only can these be used for your basic attack, but in the case of the Rough Rider, who had the Masterful Revolver, the Rough Rider could actually add the explosive rounds to the Masterful Revolver for an attack of 7 because the explosive rounds are bullets. They work with fed weapons, and the Masterful Revolver fires bullets. So all you do is you would use the blue chip to mark the use on the explosive rounds. You'd use the blue chip to mark the use of the Masterful Revolver, and there you go. You have an attack of 7. Does that make sense? So the explosive rounds, or basically ammunition, can modify anything that it matches, whether it's the person or it's a weapon that has a matching ammunition slot. So that is how those work. Let's talk briefly about let's talk about the dynamite. Let's get to the dynamite. So the dynamite card is an area effect attack card. It's a weapon that has an area effect thing. It's got a range of 5, and then it has, and then you basically says you throw a dynamite. All characters caught in this spread have to defend for those numbers. See those numbers? So those mark the squares. So the center square, whatever target, whatever square you threw this dynamite onto, is going to take 4 has to defend for 4. Everything around it has to defend for 3. Everything around that has to defend for 1. So let's say in this case, one arm Leroy, has a nice ring to it, is he's running up on these lawmen, right? These lawmen are pew-pewing. Let's say these lawmen are pew-pewing Elsu, right? So you got Elsu here. And so Quentin wants to get a good hit on pretty much all these guys. If he targets the sheriff or the deputy, one of those is going to defend for 4, but then basically the other one's going to defend for 3, and then Elsu's only going to have to defend for 1. And Elsu's probably going to take that. But Quentin wants to maximize the damage that he can do to everybody. So what he's going to do, you don't have to throw the dynamite at a person. You could just be like, range 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm just going to throw it right there. And so now that square is going to have to defend for 4, but who cares? But now these guys, all of these people have to defend against an attack of 3. Now you may be thinking, so what? So what if they have to defend for 3? What's the big deal? The big deal is the lawmen are either going to defend for 3, or they're either going to take 3 points of damage each, or they're going to have to expel some of their defense cards, at least 2 defense cards, just so they don't take damage on a stick of dynamite. Quentin has 4 other dudes in his group that are ready to shoot at lawmen. So if he threw dynamite at the lawman, then the lawman threw away 2 defense cards against the dynamite. That's 2 defense cards that they're not going to have against 4 other guys that are about to come shoot them. So dynamite is not just a great way to cause damage on a bunch of people. It's a fantastic way to drain another player of a bunch of defense cards. Of course, after you use it, you discard it. It's gone. Sayonara. And draw another one if you want. So there you have it. That's the mechanics of the loot. That's the mechanics of basic attack cards and mechanics of special attack cards. Let's talk briefly about what these colors are on this square. So when we were talking about line of sight, we were having a conversation in the group, which if you're watching this from the High Noon page or you're watching this from somewhere else that isn't the group, I encourage you to join the group as soon as humanly possible so you can be a part of the conversation and we can all have a great time. But number one, we talked about what the green square is, but as you can see, there's this orange. Orange is around other stuff. Orange indicates cover. And the way cover works, let's do it this way. Please don't fall on this stuff. The way cover works is it is considered a hindrance against an attack. And so basically, first of all, let's talk about line of sight and then we'll talk about cover. This is cover and we'll get to it. So in High Noon, line of sight works like this. I'm going to use Leroy just in case the camera decides to spontaneously fall for no reason whatsoever, besides gravity. So the way High Noon works, we're going to put him here, even though he couldn't be here. You're not allowed to actually be inside cover, so ignore that. But for the purposes of the grid and purposes of working line of sight, this is how this works. Your character can attack in straight lines or diagonal lines. Apparently, there's a term called orthogonal. I've never heard of it. But you can do forward, backward, left, right, or diagonal. Okay? This way. This way. Right? See, it's a straight line. That's a straight line, guys. It's a straight line. This is a straight line. That's a straight line. See that? That's how line of sight works. It's a we were talking in the group. Somebody said, what if you use like a stick or like a string or whatever? We could have done that, but I don't want to do this. I don't want to have this nonsense. I don't want to be messing with this. I don't want players having to deal with this nonsense. This is nonsense. Okay, this is not Warhammer. What's happening is there's people who play these massive tactical games, and they're used to like measuring things out and figuring out like all these different angles and curving the bullet. That's not what this is. This is a very simple game. It's designed to be very simple for people who have, whether it's people who've never played a game before or people who they don't want to think a lot. They just want it to be easy. So yes, there's a way that you could do math on this, but I really just, no. It's a strain. That's how this works. Okay, so you could attack that way or that way. Right? That's a straight line. Okay, or this way. So that's how line of sight works. Now, if there's something in the way, so this here, like they're shooting each other, right? Or let me get them in this shot. So you got Elsu here. Actually, we'll do it this way. This is easier. You can see this. So you've got Elsu and you've got the deputy, right? And they're shooting each other, right? But there's a wagon in the way, and it's marked with the orange. So this is considered cover, and what that means is that that any attack going through is cut in half and then rounded up to the nearest solid number. So in the case of, let's say, so for instance, if the deputy were to play this card, which I wouldn't in this instance, but just for the sake of example, if the deputy were to play this card, you would cut the 4 in half, so it's a 2. And if it were a 3, you'd cut it in half. That'd be a 1.5. You round up to 2. Okay. If it was a 1, you cut it in half. It's a half. You round it up. It's a 1. But that's how cover. That's how basic cover works. Okay. Anybody attacking through cover, you cut it in half, round it up. But let's say that the deputy moves up to the cover, so he's exactly adjacent to the cover. What this means is the deputy is now taking full tactical advantage of the cover. He's up against it. He's shooting over the ledge, right? So attacks against him are still halved and rounded up. But for him, attacking through, he's attacking at full strength because he has the defensive edge. Here he has the tactical advantage. Now, if Elsu moves up to the cover, which you're like, well, he's technically not. He's up against this green square. That's true. But the green square marks where a crate is. And I didn't say this before, but crates, after they're looted, they still count as cover. You can hide behind a crate. So he moves up to this area, this wagon, which is all cover. Now they're both taking tactical advantage of the cover. So now both of their attacks are full power. Now you might say, well, why are they full power? Why are they not both just half rounded up? Like they're both taking advantage of the cover. Why not just have them be cover? Because I don't want this game to last 4 hours. We want to be able to get through games. And if you're going to be attacking, if it's the same, I mean, if they're both taking advantage of it, then you might as well, if it's going to be one or the other, where they're both taking half rounded up or they're both taking full, I'd rather it just be the full. It's all the same anyway at that point. So that's why. So at this point, if they're both next to it, it's full power. That's how cover works. In terms of movement, the way cover works or obstacles or anything marked in orange is it takes, actually, hang on a second. Let's go back to this. Let's go back to the line of sight. So the way line of sight works in here is you count the squares. So let's say that the deputy's range, I think the deputy's range is 10. Okay? I think that both of their ranges are 10. So let's say in a scenario, please don't fall in the. You know what? I'm going to take the already dead dude. Sorry, buddy. Just in case the camera falls. It's the only reason why you're taking this hit. Sorry. All right. So let's say Elsu is here, and they both have a range of 10. So what you do is you count it. That's how line of sight works. You count it. So range of 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's within the range. And 10 or less is what you got to go for. That's how line of sight works. But in diagonal, the way it works is the same way for movement. The same way it is for movement. So here is the line of sight. But now what you have to do is you have to count 2 squares per diagonal. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8. So he's still in range. Actually, that still works. But basically, that's how line of sight works diagonally. Is you multiply it by 2 because it goes. You're basically going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's basically what you're doing. Okay. So the same thing for movement. The same thing is true for movement. If you want to move, if he's here and he wants to go there, oh man, dagnabbit. Can you see that? Okay, cool. If he wants to run up on Elsu, which is a mistake, but if that's what he wants to do, he wants to go diagonal, it's 2, 4. That's how that works. 2, 4. Okay? His movement is 4, so he could technically do that. Now Elsu is a ranged attacker, so he could totally attack him. But if this were Kiya, this would be a range of 2. They're right next to each other. So, like in this case, they're right next to each other, but it's technically a range of 2. So they're not next to each other. There's still a range of 2. All right. So in terms of movement, the way that cover works is, or obstacles, because that's what they are, is they take 2 movement points to go through, and you're not allowed to end your turn on them. So you can't stand on top of the crates. Oh boy. Okay. So you can't stand on top of the crates. You can't stand in the wagon. There will be a wagon that you can do that to. You just can't do it on that one. Why not? Because this is high noon. So if we're here, we know that, just so you know, Elsu has a movement of 6. And you know this by if we look at the character sheet right there at the top, it says speed, and this says 4. That means he can move 4 squares. Elsu's speed is going to say 6. Elsu can move 6 squares. So if it were a case of Quentin going here 1, 2, 3, he could totally do it. But if he were here, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. He couldn't do it. He cannot jump over the wagon. It's too much for him. But for Elsu could totally do it. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He can do it. It's within his speed. So that's how movement and line of sight and combat works. It's pretty simple. It's designed to be that simple. It may be frustrating at first for some people. I know it took a little bit of getting used to for Rad when we played a couple of times, because you think you're like, well, dude, because if he's here and he's here, why can't they attack? They could totally see each other. Like, this is stupid. Why can't they attack? Because that's why. That's why it's designed to be a very simple system. This is not designed to be an advanced tactical board game. It's designed to be very simple to understand, simple to play tactical board game that kids age 9 and up can play. So there. You can't. The demand was make a game for everyone, and that's impossible. You cannot make a game for everyone. You can make a game that everyone can play, but you cannot make a game that everyone will enjoy. That just is impossible. There's always going to be somebody that doesn't like your game. So when somebody says you should make a game for everyone, the only way to do that is to focus on the mechanics and make sure that everyone can understand them. Beyond that, you're never going to make a game that everyone's going to love to play. Sorry, it doesn't exist. So anyway, that's just one of those things where you just gotta go with it. So that's the thing. But I enjoy it. So I have a lot of fun with this system, and I think you will too. Honestly, I think that like I said, it does take a little getting used to. It does take some like mental preparedness, because there's going to be things that don't make sense. There's going to be you're going to be like, well, that should happen, and it's just you just got to let it go. You just got to let it go and just roll with it, because everybody else is held to the same standard. You know, you're like, well, I should be able to attack him. Yeah, well, he should be able to attack you, but y'all can't. Neither of you can. So it's not unfair. You know, there's not an unfair advantage. It just is what it is. It's the rules. Facebook user says egg wingspan was pretty close. I don't know what that is. What is egg wingspan? Egg wingspan. The 4 actions. Oh, wait. Is wingspan is a board game? Is that what I'm looking at? Let me see this. Let me share my screen. Tell me if this is what you're talking about. Not The Mandalorian. Is this what you mean here? This is what we're looking at? Each turn you will take 1 action. This section describes each action in more detail. Before choosing to play a bird from your hand, consider its habitat, food requirement, and egg cost. Each bird has habitat and food requirements. Yep, that's one. I was wondering if you meant, but I didn't want to, I don't know. And then here we go. Oh, I mean, we're talking about eggs, and there it is. So maybe you're right anyway. Do the following in seed, fish, fruit, rodent. What the heck is this game? What is this game? So did they do that? Is that what you're saying? Like they had a similar movement and sight thing? I don't know what this. I'm just looking at wingspan. Let me see. Let's see if there's another. What the heck is? Wow. You are bird enthusiasts, researchers, bird watchers, seeking to discover and attract the best birds to your network of wildlife preserves. Okay, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I know that there is got to be people who really like this game. Like, this is definitely speaks to them. Look, you even have like a little. Is that a dice? Is that a dice tower? That's it's a birdhouse. There's an audience for this. Like, there's people who like this, but not everybody's gonna like this game. I'm not going to like. I don't want to see this at all. Oh yeah. So you're saying that Wingspan is a game for everyone? Wingspan is actually a game that everyone will enjoy. Facebook user says, who is this person? Who is this person saying this? Now I was just responding to your comment, can't make a game for everyone, and Wingspan came pretty close. Won 8 Golden Geek Awards ladder. Okay. How? No, okay, can I just... I noticed... I can't say what I'm going to say. I can't say what I want to say. Otherwise, I can't put this on the Kickstarter page. It looks nice. But like if somebody was like, hey, you want to play a game about bird watching? No, I don't. couldn't care couldn't care less about birds. Theme sucks. Exactly. This is like, I don't even, okay, say, look, I don't want to discount 8. Hang on. Okay, first of all, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. We're gonna go to the open comments. We're just gonna keep the conversation going. I want to have this conversation, but if you're watching this after it's been published from the Kickstarter page or somewhere, head on over to Facebook, join the High Noon official group. We are 1,100 strong, and we'd love to have you in the group following in our journey and contributing to the development. We'll see you there, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace out. And wait a second. I have to do this thing where I do this.